I got 1,000,000 female friends, right? And some of them are getting up there in age. And so when I really speak to them, when you really get to the, like once you get past all the excuses, all the, you know what I mean, the tough guy shit, a lot of these people will tell you, yo, I thought I had time in my 20s and 30s when I was dissing all of these dudes that were good dudes. They just weren't the ideal dude. They weren't the picture perfect dude.
You've never heard a woman tell you that. Why do y'all get up here and lie every day? No woman has ever told you that they regretted not being with some dude in their 20s or some dude in their 30s. Like, stop lying. Stop. And here's the thing, Ish. If you've heard it from a woman, okay, I can accept that you heard it from a woman. I'm not going to say no woman has ever said that. I'm not going to say that. Of course, there's some woman that said that. But you saying that you talk to all of these females and female friends or whatever, and you're acting as if this is a common theme, Cap, you're lying. And the way that y'all will get up here and just tell that lie so effortlessly, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. You are lying. You know you haven't met two fucking women that have that same story. I've never met a woman that has had that story. I ain't gonna even hold it. I don't know one woman that has that story. I know way more women that regret ever dealing with men than women that regret dissing or whatever he's trying to say, like not choosing up when they were in their 20s. We just heard Carrie Hilson say to Cam, when Cam asked her, what did you learn from your relationship with Ibaka? What did you wish you could have done differently? She said, leave sooner. That's what I've heard from women. I've heard that way more, and I've never heard the other thing, but I'm saying I've heard that way more than I've ever heard anything insinuating that they regretted not choosing a dude in their 20s or 30s. Like, please.
Because I thought I had more time to find him. And then when you get to your 40s and you're like, damn, my nigga. You know, not saying that nothing's wrong with your 40s. I'm just saying a lot of times people feel like some of the choices that they made, they are regretful in those because I could have fucked with Sean. He was a good dude. He might not have been the best dude, but he was a good dude. He was a good man. I could have made a...
Sir, again, for the 90,000th time, stop telling women what qualifies as a good man. Y'all don't know what a good man is. None of y'all on this show are good men. All of you guys are ass. All of y'all. The best one is the white dude, the one white dude or whatever. He the best one, but he ass too. He don't get it either. You know what I'm saying? But all of y'all, definitely Ish, fucking Joe, the other fat little short dude that be in the back on the stool that they got him, the fifth wheel. All of y'all are trash ass dudes. Ass. Joe is the worst. His shit is documented. So y'all, you don't know shit about what a good man is. It ain't you. You're not a good man. It's not you. Let me start there. Y'all always talking about the proverbial good man, and it's never y'all.
Life with him. And I think that when you get to this age, oftentimes the regret will smack you in the face. I know girls that got artificially inseminated, right? Because they wanted a child and they just thought they had more and more and more time. And unfortunately, y'all are on a biological clock.
That's true.
And so I think some of that was in some of her interviewing.
So are men. Men are on a biological clock as well. Geriatric sperm is a real thing. It starts to happen in our 30s. We are I don't know why y'all think that, just like, think about it like this. Just because you can have a baby doesn't mean you should. Women can have babies until they're in their 40s and 50s. That's the known thing. Right? Is the baby going to be healthy? Who knows? And the more we learn about pregnancy, the more we learn about conception and birth and all of that stuff, the more we're starting to find how much the father, how big of a role the father plays, or the sperm, right? So y'all really up here acting like just because you can impregnate a woman when you're 70 means that you have forever to have a child. You don't.
Her testimony.
That's very true. But Tracee Ellis Ross, having the access and the excess that she has, she could have adopted at any point in her life, but she chose not to. I think for her, specifically for her, and I think everything that you just said is true. I think that there is a bunch of women.
Melyssa, don't be nice. No, what he said was bullshit.
who felt like they had more time and didn't find the right partner. Sometimes, like, you drown in options. That's a fact, and y'all know that. You guys know that.
True.
Sometimes you can just be drowning in fucking options, and it's like it's analysis paralysis. You know what I mean? Like, where you just can't make a decision because there's so much fucking shit coming at you that you just like, I don't know. I'm just gonna fucking just float through life and figure it out at some point, and then time.
That floating, you get to the other side where the other island at.
It's true. Like, look, I like to say there's like a single second and 1,000 years is the same measurement of time in the grand scheme of fucking things. You know what I'm saying? So
wait, what?
It's the measurement of time may seem small or large to us, but in the grand scheme of things, in terms of infinity and the universe, a second and 1,000 years is the exact same measurement of time, is what I'm trying to say.
I understand that.
Okay. So I think that at different times she might have had different thought processes, like, okay, well, my career is booming and blah, 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 and this is what's feeding my soul right now. And she's dating and whatever else. And, maybe she has a long-term relationship and then it ends up badly. And she's like, I need time
So this would be
with myself.
That would be really cool, what you just said, if she was Thor. What the fuck are we talking about? Am I missing something?
We were
human.
Ish was talking about how women will people, but he's speaking about women, how they will feel like they have a lot of time. That's what
you started talking about infinity.
But listen, how you asking Melyssa Ford an opinion? Melyssa Ford opinion and Tracee Ellis Ross opinion aligns. It aligns. Melyssa Ford didn't get married. She doesn't have any children. So she understands what Tracee. She aligns with that. She understands that.
Listen, I'm with that.
So we can't try to change her perspective.
And in this way, whatever I say is going to be dismissed. It is.
It shouldn't be dismissed because you agree with her sentiments.
Because I understand it on a different level.
But I understand it too, and I'm a married man with children. So I hate when people. Men like them always try to like she's saying, she's clocking it. They try to dismiss it as like, oh, you're just being biased, pretty much, because they're being biased. You know what I mean? And they think they always want to project, and they use that thought process and they apply it to everybody. Like, oh, well, the reason why you're saying that is because that's what you've gone through. Like as if people don't understand the experiences of other people because they don't know what it feels like to understand the experience of another person. But it's funny because, again, none of these dudes are good men, but they understand what it's like for a good man to be denied by a woman. You see what I'm saying? Like they're not good men themselves. They're whole pieces of shit, but they're always fighting the good fight for the good man. So that's the only time it seems like they can put themselves in another man's shoes. Like, oh man, it would suck to actually be a good man and still not get the woman you feel like you deserve. That would be crazy. Like, that's pretty much what they say. And I'm just like, yeah, you guys, y'all are just lost. Like you're just out here, you're just floating. You're just projecting onto everybody the way that you feel. And it's sad.
Level, I just understand it on a different level. When she talks about there's a grieving process that happens where you look at your life and you're like, I never got married and I had never had kids. Yeah. Like there's a part of you that has to grieve that. I understand.
That is the anxiety that you get in that moment is external and not internal though. Like, that you didn't make a mistake. You know that you did what was right by you. You know that you're better off for not having kids right now and not having ever got married. But then it is society that has planted that seed, right? And has propagandized you to the point to where now you feel like, oh, you messed up because you haven't experienced these things or you don't have these things. No matter how successful you are personally, no matter how content you are personally, no matter how well developed your character is or anything like that at this point, that's irrelevant because society is telling you you're worth less because you don't have kids if you're a woman, because you never got attached to some man as a woman. And even Melyssa Ford has fallen victim to that. And even Tracee Ellis Ross has fallen victim to that because y'all could have been married at any point in time, and y'all could have had children at any point in time. You still can. Melyssa Ford, I'm sure she can still have kids, and she can be married right now, and she is actively choosing not to. So how can you grieve that? Like, what are you grieving? Like, I don't understand where like you are actively making that decision every day. So, I don't know. Like, I feel like that's also like, and maybe I didn't like hearing that even from Tracee Ellis, because I was like, but you made that decision though. Then nobody took that away from you. Nobody, you know what I mean? Nobody stripped you of that opportunity. You have that opportunity to this day. You were, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm grieving not being married. Okay, go get married. Nah, I'm good. Then what the fuck? That's my proof. You know what you do. Like, it seems like she felt, it's weird. It's like all that understanding, and they still feel compelled to say that they're grieving not being married and not having kids. Like, no, I don't think they should. I'm not saying that they're not grieving it, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think they have anything to grieve. I don't think there's anything wrong with not having kids and not being married. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. I know without a doubt there is nothing wrong with not having kids and not being married. Zero.
Understand what she's talking about, but hold on. But I also understand.
Fuck you up.
But I also understand what it means when she says I'm whole. I know what she's talking about.
Can I ask
Her
a
life is very full.
Hey, just on a side note, no shade, no tea. Sometimes when you listen to Melyssa, you can hear the Canadian come out. I didn't believe she was Canadian until recently, because I haven't really heard her speak throughout her career a lot. But listening to her on this podcast, like, oftentimes I clocked, I'm like, oh, there goes that Canadian, eh?
If she came into a relationship tomorrow, she would come in a whole person, not looking for him to define her in any sort of way.
Can I ask you one
Whole
question?
to me does mean slide.
He doesn't want me to stretch it up. That belief of grievances, do you compartmentalize that?
You mean grief?
Yes.
I'm sure you have to.
Yeah, I'm talking about you. You and it, because you relate to her. So did you, like, all right, my fault. All right, he gonna.
No, that's a good question.
Nah, but why you doing that, man?
Like,
I apologize.
No. The way that my own personal experience, the way that I look at things is, if I really, really had wanted to, I would have.
Respect.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying, like, where's the grief coming? Like, you could do it right now. That's exactly what I said. That's why I was like, I don't understand why why would you grieve something that you had 100% control over? Like, what? Nobody took that away from you. You literally are actively choosing to avoid these niggas like the plague, and I don't blame you. Where is the grief coming in? You are better for it. Where's the grief?
Because I've made everything else happen for myself. Manifestation. But that was the one thing, like, that just...
So you do believe in manifestation.
But that 3 line you said, I don't agree with that, Joe.
I'm doing a call back to you in manifestation, but what I said about manifestation still stands. Not everybody manifests. Not everybody thinks it's real. Not everybody just, thinks like, oh, I'm going to manifest it and it's going to happen. Not everybody thinks that.
I'm not a manifester. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a manifester. My wife is a manifester. I'm not a manifester. But yet stuff still manifests itself in my life. It's probably because of my wife. But yeah, I'm not one. I don't think I've ever been a manifester either. And I've lived a charmed life to some extent.
Way. Whereas for you, manifestation is a very real practice for you on a daily basis.
What was the 3
No,
words
you
just
don't
said?
have any more questions.
I'm asking, stop doing that. I'm asking you now, not her. I'm asking you.
Fuck.
You want me to shut up?
What's the topic?
Why is he so disrespectful to this dude? Like, he just asked the regular. What is going on with? I don't know. I don't watch the Joe Budden podcast enough. I only watch clips of them. I can't tolerate them in like large doses. None of them are interesting to me. Melyssa Ford is the most interesting person on the show, and she's not that interesting to me. But I think it's because she's on the show with these dudes, and they're not. I don't know. Maybe they bring down her value. I have no idea. But none of these dudes are interesting. None of them are insightful. I don't like their nothing. I don't want to trash them, but I just don't. They're not my vibe. But what the fuck? Why are you acting like that to this dude who you're paying to be on your show? And he can't talk? Like, why are you treating him like he's a fucking child? This is crazy.
Wait, do you want me to shut up? Yes or no?
What's the topic?
This same topic.
I don't want you to shut up, Flip. I actually want you to ask
No, don't
the
worry,
question to
because,
him.
I'm gonna get at him. I already got a plan in a couple minutes. That 3 lines That 3 lines you said was what? You said the 3 Joe Budden lines was you got people that do what?
Make shit happen.
Watch shit happen or not know what happened.
Make shit happen. Watch shit happen.
Watch shit happen.
Yeah.
Or not know what happened.
So somebody that makes shit happen does not have to believe in manifestation.
That's true.
That's not true. That's a part of. That's a part.
I don't really believe in the manifestation, but I make shit happen.
And not believe in manifestation. You could have a different way of making shit happen.
Yeah, that's me. that's my approach. Hey, that was smart. Hey, I just talk shit about him. That's me. I fit in that category.
That's what I'm gonna do.
That's not true. But go ahead.
So it's not mutually exclusive either. You can be both, or you could be either. But yeah.
And if you talk about internal manifestation,
okay, I'm sorry. This is boring. I don't care about this.
If you only want to focus on your lived experience,
well, what else do you go based off
versus getting new experiences?
Well, that's what she's saying. She's accumulating new experiences, dating younger men who seem to have a less traditional way of thinking, and they're a little bit more fluid in their way of thinking and acting. That's what she also goes on to say after that.
So you're sliding.
Whatever you want to describe it as.
She's sliding them. She's sliding them.
Whatever you want to describe. Listen.
That just sound like justifying toxic femininity.
Joe Budden, shut the fuck up. Joe Budden is one of the most uneducated people with a platform. Like, why do these very uneducated? That has nothing to do with how is that toxic femininity? Toxic femininity doesn't even exist, by the way. It's not even a real thing. Here's the thing. Hold on, I'm gonna say this for the class. Masculinity is toxic. Femininity is the cure to masculinity, right? Femininity is not toxic. I don't know what, for femininity to be toxic, right? What you would have to do is you would have to come up with a characteristic or trait that can typically be found in most women. Let me just start there. Like, what is it? What can we attribute to women that is toxic? What behaviors can be found in women? Not exclusively, but the majority of women and not the majority of men, right? Like, if you were going to say that women are violent, I would say, yeah. I wouldn't say women are violent. I would say, yeah, there's some women that are out there that are violent, but I would definitely say men are violent because most men are violent. Most men participate in violence at some point in time in their life, right? So I would say, yeah, men are violent, women are not. If you were to say women are liars, I would say, no, I don't think women are liars. Men are liars, but I don't think women are liars, because I don't think most women walk around actively lying to people. I do think most men do, though, or at least have, right? Men, boys, men, whatever the hell, right? Just keep going down the line. Like, women are power hungry. Yeah, there are some women that are power hungry, but women aren't power hungry. In general, they're not. So what is the toxic trait that we can attribute to femininity? That's what I want to know. And Joe, if you asked him, it would be crickets. For sure. I mean, he's the type of person, he would just say something, but it wouldn't actually be applicable.
Why is this? What does toxic femininity have to do with this particular situation? She's
nothing.
She's not sitting up there talking about feminism and being a feminist. Her lived experience is
in a roundabout way she was, because the things that she was talking about that she wanted to see from the man, or the things that she liked in the younger men, were definitely rooted in feminism. Like how she was talking about them being like gender fluid and understanding gender fluidity and understanding, trans issues and, homosexuality and so on and so forth. That was definitely rooted in the idea of feminism. No question. She didn't overtly state anything about feminism, but that's what I got from the conversation. She wanted a man that was, for lack of a better term, a feminist, right? She wanted a man that was, for that was, for the lack of a better term, in touch with his femininity. That's the way that I would categorize that.
Right. She's Diana Ross's daughter. She's been famous since she was in the fucking womb. She's a fucking unicorn. And I use that term because there really is not a lot of women or people that can understand what her life has looked like, being famous from being a child and living, and probably having access to wealth, and then becoming famous in her own right and having an enormous amount of success from Girlfriends and then Blackish. Like, her lived experience is extremely unique. And so it's really difficult to apply everyday kind of standards and thoughts to to what she's experienced.
Man,
Okay, hold up for a second.
I agree with that.
That was awesome, first of all.
Thank you.
But it's still both of those things can be true.
Yes.
I'm who I am, the same way these
You're right.
Wait, I want to start before I forget, because you asked me a question. I think anybody operating from, I think anything that's operating in trauma or rooted in trauma is toxic.
What does that mean?
Guy or girl.
Okay, so why are you using the word trauma though?
What does that mean?
Because you said she's based on her past life experience,
lived experience,
and trauma
Lived
with these
experience?
types of.
Operating from trauma. Like, these are just these buzzwords that men like to throw around, these terms. What do you mean? If I was traumatized by something and that shapes the way that I view the world, or that shapes the way that I perceive the world, or that shapes the way that I function in the world, okay, technically I'm operating from trauma, but it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It doesn't always equate to a bad thing. In some cases it does, not in every case. Not in every case. Right? Like, you can say that I'm not saying this about myself because I'm not an overachiever, I don't feel like. But you can say that I was traumatized when I was younger, I don't know how, whatever. And because of that, I became an overachiever. I'm operating in trauma. But the way that people choose to internalize the trauma and how it shows up, it's not always a negative. A lot of times, again, with men, the trauma often shows up as a negative. And further beyond that, with men, the trauma often hurts other people. Our trauma, we internalize, and then we weaponize it against other people, right? When women are traumatized, a lot of times they take the trauma and they turn and it doesn't harm other people. And in some cases, it fuels the women and it drives them to be better versions of themselves. So you just saying that is I just think y'all think that sounds like something like a gotcha, or it sounds cool or something like that. It sounds heavy, but it's really not though. Anytime, it's too hyperbolic. Like, anytime you operate in trauma, it's a negative. Like, is it? What if that's all you know? Like, a lot of us don't have a choice but to operate in trauma, because that's like our lives. That's how we grew up. So you make the best out of it. And then you're saying like that's toxic every single time. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You all use the word trauma. I just said lived experience. I'm not using the word trauma.
But let me just land.
He did.
Let me land,
Okay.
and then have a blast with it. When I mentioned getting new experiences, you countered with her lived experience. So if you are afraid of new experiences, or shaping your experiences to only be one way because of your trauma from your lived experiences,
cut that oven on.
I'm calling that trauma, which is why I highlighted Tracee Ellis Ross's ability to get any man in the world, and there's 7 billion men in the world.
Hold on, wait. So that's what I'm saying. This shit is so dumb. So Tracee Ellis Ross probably has some combination of this going on, like most women do. She has a combination of her personal experiences with men, her observed experiences, the relationships that she has seen from her mom to her aunts, to the women in her life, to the women on TV, to the women in her community. I don't care. To historical references, her historical observations of men and women and how we interact, right? And from all of that, she has compiled a vision of what relationships look like when you are in them with most men. She has this experience from her personal experiences, from other women's lived experiences, and from historical references of how men treat women. And she has astutely figured out that, first and foremost, most men are dangerous. Most men are not worth being in relationships with, right? I don't care. She was being very nice and all of that stuff, I know. But I'm just telling you, I'm based on how she's living her life. She has figured out that most men aren't worth being in relationship with, worth being in community with. She goes on to say that she prefers to date younger men. And I've already made a video about this, but Tracee Ellis is 52, 53 years old. Younger men for her could be a decade younger. So that's men my age. Those are millennials. You're talking about old millennials, zillennials, if you will. You're maybe even mid-30s, right? These aren't kids, but these men are not as rigid in our thought process as men that are older from Gen X, Boomer, and men that are even younger right now. If you think about it, even Gen Z is a lot more rigid, and they're a lot more conservative. So millennials are the most conservative group of men right now, probably in the country, if not in the world, but definitely in the country right now. Tracee Ellis Ross, from all of those things that I already mentioned, she has put together a reasonable reaction, a reasonable response to how men treat women. And her reaction is, okay, I have like an idea of the type of man that I want to be in community with. And the men that typically meet this criteria are the men who fall within this age group. You can find more, not to say that there's not some men that are older, Gen X's and boomers, and there's not to say there's not men that are younger, but the bulk of the men that hold these ideologies and hold these beliefs exists within this group. And therefore, I prefer that group for this reason. That is not her operating out of trauma. That is her operating out of real world lived experiences, historical references, and her observations of the community of women around her. I don't know how do you guys live your life? How do you guys make your decisions? If you're not using this process to make your decisions, how are you using your decisions? I'm very curious to know now, because this is scary that this is even in question at this point.
World. Yeah. 1, 2, I think the mere existence of her contradicts her point. Because her point is
this is like watching a man who can't. This is like watching a man struggle to lift a heavy weight. Like this is too heavy for you, Joe. You're not strong enough for this. You're not built for this.
I'm this age. The men that I'm meeting in my age bracket are leftovers. I'm running into the worst of the worst.
Your words, not hers.
I think that's
I didn't get that.
Oh, that's what I'm getting from what. Oh, okay. All right, so maybe I'm off base.
I can tell you what I got from what she's saying is
the dating pool and niggas my age. It ain't it. I heard.
I ain't even going that far with it.
Go ahead.
The shit she's been around and she's into, men her age ain't into. And when she try to get into it with them, it's no. And that's where that toxic masculinity part comes in, because everybody say, when you're speaking about fluidity and willing to try and allow other shit, the younger niggas is with that today. So she's like, I like this because I get to do more to these niggas.
I think that's a crock of shit. That men are not a monolith.
I'm not saying a monolith, but a lot of part.
Most men within a certain group, not most men, more men with it. Look, man, look. Again, let me. I got to dumb this down even more for the dummies. if there are 3 bodies of water, like 3 lakes, right? And it is a known thing. It is a known thing, like they track it, right? That if you fish in this lake, in lake number 1, in lake number 1, 500 fish get caught a day in lake number 1. 350 fish get caught in lake number 2, and 100 fish get caught in lake number 3. If you wanted to catch a fish, what lake would you go to? You would go fish in lake number 1, right? There's fish in all lakes. You can get a fish out of any 3 of these lakes. But which lake are you most likely to catch a fish in? Lake number 1, obviously. You don't even ever have to fish in lake number 1, but you know, because you can track it. You know, okay, lake number 1, it's a known thing, right? The gaming, whatever board, they release the numbers on it. Cool. So you have this historically, lake number 1 has always had the highest output. Cool. Why wouldn't you go to lake number 1? If you wanted to give yourself the best chance of catching a fish, you would go to lake number 1 if you're being rational and logical. Saying that men aren't a monolith is irrelevant at this point. That's not what she's saying. Again, yes, there is a 55-year-old man out there that is on that type of time that Tracee Ellis is looking for. But that motherfucker lives in Timbuktu. They're too spread out. They're not readily available. It's way easier to find that man when between a certain age group. That's all she's saying. Jesus Christ.
I thought Mel ain't.
Men are not a monolith.
They're not.
So don't tell me that there's not a man in your age range.
We playing percentages.
Into some of the things.
We playing percentages. So the nigga she shot at her age range, her percentage at getting off what she might want to get off ain't high.
I'm not mad
But
at
when
that.
you
God damn. One of them got sense. Oh my God. It took one of them has sense. Interesting. Wow.
play with the younger ones, I could get it off
I'm not
air
mad at
because
it.
of who I am.
But it does-
they're gonna let me do what the fuck I want to do.
But it
to
does
them.
come off like I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Okay, so hold on one second here. Y'all are on the same
And what's the problem with that?
wavelength with
I'm agreeing with-
which she might be. She might be an undercover freak. Okay, let's put
agreeing
that
with
to the
that.
side. You were gonna say something.
I was gonna say that she brought up the men in my age range are X, which is a huge generalism about men.
Generalism?
Her age.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm her age.
Okay,
She 52. I'm 49 years old.
Yeah.
So you can't judge all
but
men
you're
that.
taken. She does. She's not. She's
please-
not referring to the
please,
men.
Mel, let me finish
Okay,
my
go ahead.
sentence.
Go ahead.
Yo, you can't take all of these men that are in that age range and say that they are all.
That's not what she said. The dude just explained it right next to you. Joe got it. Now you're just saying, now you're going back. Bro, keep up with the convo, dog.
Suffering from toxic masculinity. Had a man been on that interview and stated those same exact things about women in his age group, you would have found that offensive.
It depends on what he said. It depends on what he said. The shit men be saying about women, it be a lie. It be a lie. Jesus Christ. I hate when y'all act like everything is a one-to-one. Men be lying on women every day. So yeah, maybe she would have been offended because men lie every day. But I'm sure there's a bunch of shit somebody could say about, look, like this. Let's say a man wanted to have a child. If he said, yeah, I'm 35 and it's hard to meet women that are 35 that don't have kids that want to have a child. A lot of women that are 35, they've already made up their mind they don't want to have a child. It's harder to find women at 35 who don't have kids already that want to have a child. Oh, women ain't a monolith. Bro, nobody said that. It's just the likelihood you're going to find a 35 to 40-year-old woman that hasn't had kids yet, but she still wants to have a child. That's harder to find at that age. Just the reality. Usually by that age, it's either deliberate or they can't. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's rare that they just like, I don't know. I really want to have kids, and it never happened. Like, you know what I mean? They deliberately tried to not have kids.
right? So you don't find it offensive because she brought up her past traumas that Joe said about controlling men or men that were X, all of these negative things that she lived in her past life experiences. If a man was saying that those things and he justified all older women as being X, y'all would say, nah, he just able, he rich, he can.
Dude, generalizing just means most. She didn't say all. You're a dummy.
Control these young bitches because they weak of mind.
See, that's the point I was trying to make. Maybe I articulated myself.
She never said that the younger men were weaker, though. That's how men talk about women. She just said the men are more open. She said the men are less rigid. She was saying the men they understand gender fluidity better. She was very specific in what she was saying. I didn't get that she was implying they're easier to manipulate at all. That's not what I got at all. She's into consent. That's the thing. She's like, yeah, it's easier to get these men, the types of men that are willing to consent to the things that I want. It's easier to find them in this age group. That's it.
Wrong. What I get from her is this piss in the dating pool of men her age. And to say that, like putting it in reverse, like a man can't say that because there is a Tracee Ellis Ross out there that is single, successful, and in search of something. Why do
Again, because men be lying on women. What is the toxic traits of women? What is bad about a 52 or if you're 50 plus years old, what is bad about the women in your age group? Toxic. What can you attribute to most women, 50-year-old women, that's bad? For you as a 50-year-old man, I can as a 40-year-old man, or you can as a 25-year-old man. Yes, there are certain things you can say like, nah, by the time they 50, usually they're like da-da-da-da-da. Because older people are more rigid and they're less understanding and yada, yada, yada. And she don't want to go about it. Yes, there's a bunch of things you can say about that group of people, depending on your age. But within your age group, within your age range, within 5 years, plus or minus, what the fuck can you say about women? That it doesn't go both ways, bro.
she think the same can't be said for her? You can meet somebody.
I think. I'm sorry.
So you can throw a rock and hit a podcast of men talking about how used and washed up women over a certain age is. That is a fact.
Don't start talking about these incel.
I'm not talking about that. He made a point about if it was in reverse and it was a man saying this sort of thing, in reverse, that we'd be totally offended. Yes, it is offensive, but I can't not hear that because it is so prevalent.
Please address the point.
I'm addressing something that you said. So
I didn't say nothing about no other podcast. I'm talking.
No,
about
I'm saying you made it seem like it was just like what she thought is. You made it seem like if a man said what she said is not like the common shit right now. I can't, I'm trying to say how prevalent that idea is.
Has nothing to do with
but
what
the men that, wait, hold up, because I like that. The men that.
She is saying that men actually do say that stupid shit already, and y'all don't be offended. That's what she's saying.
Say that, like I just called them. There's a community, there's names for them. Incels, red pill.
Joe Budden, Ish, y'all the same dudes. I don't know why y'all acting like y'all not those dudes. Y'all say very similar stuff to them.
We talking about Tracee Ellis Ross.
Okay.
See, even that highlights the difference.
Okay, so hold on one second here. Now going back to Tracee Ellis Ross, you cannot be in all places at the same time, and as it relates to dating. Okay, so for example, I'm single. Do you know how much advice? Unsolicited advice people give me about dating? A ton. I'm just gonna tell you, a lot. You know what you should do? You know where you should go? You know what I was thinking? No, I don't. I didn't ask, but you're gonna fucking tell me anyways. This is what happens to women frequently, is we get unsolicited advice as to where we're supposed to be. It would literally be a full-time fucking job trying to position ourselves to be available to wherever these men are, because you can't be in all places all at the same time and also fucking run your life, have a career. It gets difficult. It's not as simple as everybody wants to make it seem. Like, she's Tracee Ellis Ross, so she should have pick of the litter. That's not necessarily true.
Oh, you moving the goalpost?
I'm not moving the goalpost. I'm not moving the goalpost. I'm talking.
If I was on there, if I was Melyssa, I couldn't take it. Like the way that they're so dismissive. How is she moving the goalpost?
I'm referencing the things that she was saying. When she talks about, she goes on to talk about, the fact that she's child free and never got married and that sort of thing. I think that even just kind of putting herself out there to even have that conversation was just a level, and you guys are gonna fucking
So brave.
I do think that is brave because she leaves herself very open.
She was very vulnerable in that interview, 100%.
Open to a lot of criticism and judgment for people to say that was your choice, you made that choice, blah blah blah. When it's just like life just ebbs and flows and takes you in different directions, and your priorities are what they are. Like, they change vastly. You just can only go with the tools that you have at the moment that you fucking have them.
To say that is against the power of manifestation, by the way.
All right, I'm done. I can't take Joe Budden seriously ever. Not ever. So another example of men completely missing the point. And I'm so glad Melyssa was there to, do what she can do, and she was very, very salient in her responses, and she made a lot of sense, and I loved it. I thought her responses were great, and I understood everything that she said, and I don't think it made an ounce of difference to the men on the panel, but you do it for the masses and not the asses. So